Today, we will understand a very important name in Bhagavad Gita. The name is Achyutha. Achyutha is very important for multiple reasons. One of the reasons being, it starts with the word A, the alphabet A. A, Lord Krishna himself says in Gita, Aksharanam akarosmi, which means that of all the alphabets, I am the alphabet A. So much of importance is given to the starting letter A itself of the Achyutha. There are two important things in Mahabharata. We learnt about it earlier. One is the Vishnu Sahasranamam. The other is Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu Sahasranamam is a compilation of 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu. And Bhagavad Gita, we've been seeing now, has a lot of Krishna's names used in it. We've learnt two important names till now. One is Madhava and other is Hrishikesha. Madhava is a name which has been used 3 times in Sahasranamam. It was used only twice in Bhagavad Gita, once by Sanjaya and the other time by Arjuna. Hrishikesha is used only once in Sahasranamam, but it was used 7 times in Bhagavad Gita. We saw that earlier. It was used twice by Arjuna and 5 times by Sanjaya. Now the interesting part of Achyutha is, it is used 3 times in Sahasranamam and the same 3 times it is used in Bhagavad Gita also. Now what is the significance of 3 times? If we just think about it, anything which is important is mentioned 3 times. Anything which we have to remember all the time is mentioned 3 times. For example, any mantra that we recite, it seems to end with the word Shanti. And if you observe, Shanti is repeated 3 times. Shanti means peace. So Shanti, Shanti, Shantihi. 3 times the word Shanti is repeated because it has to be ingrained in our mind. Earlier I used a sloka in one of the previous episodes. Harar namaiva 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 mama jivanam kalau nastyeva 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 gatiranyata. In the word Hari, the name of Hari is the only thing which is going to help us survive the Kali Yuga. Now here again the word Hari was used namaiva 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 with an emphasis of using the word Nama 3 times. Kalau nastyeva nastyeva nastyeva, there is no other go is again emphasized 3 times. So anything where emphasis is required, we can observe that it is 2 times. You go to the great Tirupati Tirumala temple, people start reciting Govinda. And if you observe the pattern, they say Govinda, Govinda, Govinda. 3 times it's again repeated. So the emphasis is repeating the thing 3 times if it has to be in our mind. Here it is very interesting for us to note that the name Achyutha is repeated 3 times by Arjuna, and the Sahasranamam also has Achyutha 3 times. So it's a very important thing. Now what is the meaning of the name Achyutha? Na Chyavate iti Achyutaha. Na Chyavate means one who never fails from his glory, his position. He never moves away from his position. The infallible, that's the closest translation we can give. It's not the complete translation. The infallible is Achyutha. He does not fail in protecting his devotees. He does not fail in his affection towards his devotees. So a lot of situations where he does not fail, he's addressed as Achyutha. Now where does Arjuna use this name Achyutha? It is in the same sloka which we saw earlier where Hrishikesha was used by Sanjaya. It is the very first chapter, the 21st sloka. Hrishikesham tadha vakyam midamaha mahipate Arjuna uvacha senayorubhayor madhye ratham stapaya mechyuta. In this sloka, Sanjaya addresses Lord Krishna as Hrishikesha. He says, oh God, you have all the senses under your control. The entire universe is under your control. Even the destination of this war is going to be under your control. At this point, Arjuna addresses Krishna as Achyuta in the second part of the sloka. Ratham stapaya mechyuta. Hey Achyuta, go and park the Ratham in between the 2 armies. Now, what did Arjuna exactly mean in this situation? Why did he address it as Achyutha, because we understood why Sanjaya addressed Lord as Hrishikesha. Now, what was the need for Achyutha here? We should remember that this was a situation before Arjuna's mind was, perplexed. So he is now in a happy mood. He is going to re-establish Dharma. He is speaking to his friend who is Krishna. And Krishna here is a Sarathi. Arjuna is the owner of the chariot, while Krishna is actually the driver of the chariot. So with all this in mind, there is a lot of humor between the two because they are cousins also. So Arjuna now says, hey Krishna, you're Achyutha. Achyutha means one who is not going to move away from his position, right? So, hey Achyutha, I know you're immovable, but move, go place a chariot in between the two armies. This could be one of the meanings where he says he's trying to move the immovable. No, the one who is not Achyutha. Achyutha means movable. He's Achyutha, he's not movable. Now move, go park the chariot in between the two armies. That could be one reason which is humorous. The other reason could be that, hey Achyutha, now you are the driver of my chariot. I am the owner of the chariot. So he commands, he knows that the Lord will not move away from the role that is taken. So he says that because you're a Sarathi, as a Sarathi, go and park the Ratham in between the two armies. So here again, Arjuna takes the superior role and he orders Achyutha, who will go and park the Ratham in between the two chariots, in between the two armies. Now, these are some of the interesting interpretations. There is another very interesting meaning for the word Achyutha, which is the Antaryami. Sri Tirukkachi was a great devotee of Lord Valdaraja. He was in Kanjipuram. He was doing the fanning service, Visari Kainkaryam as we say, to the Lord there. And he has written a Ashtakam. Ashtakam means a sloka which has 8 paragraphs, 8 stotrams. And in that he addresses the Lord Achyutha as Antaryami. There are 5 forms of the Lord, 5 manifestations in which our God comes to us. We call it as Para, Vyuha, Vibhava, Antaryami and Archa. Of this, Antaryami is the form where the God is dwelling inside us itself. So in this stotra, in the very first sloka of the 8 slokas, see Tirukkachi gives one word for each of these manifestations, and he chooses to use the word Achyutha for the Antaryami God. Namaste Hasti Shailesha Shriman Ambuja Lochana Sharanam Tvam Prapannosmi Pranatarti Harachyuta. So he says that you are Achyutha, who is the Antaryami. Now, where is the reference for this? What do we mean by Antaryami in this context is Mundaka Upanishad, one of the Upanishad, explains a concept where there is a tree and there is a branch of the tree in which there are 2 birds seated. One bird is tasting a fruit while the other bird is actually watching the bird which is tasting the fruit. The fruit here is equated to the karma. The Jivatma is tasting the fruit of karmas. The Paramatma is the Sakshi Bhutam, who is the observer of the Jivatma, who is actually feeling all the karmas here. So this is the context. Now, if we just translate this situation to what is happening here on the ground in the Kurukshetra Yuddha, Arjuna is a Jivatma who's going to see everybody there. The impact of it is going to affect Arjuna. But Krishna, who is Achyutha, is beyond all this. He is the Sakshi Bhutam, the second bird, the Paramatma or the Antaryami, who is looking at all this just as a witness. So the Antaryami is not going to be affected by any of these things. Many times I get a question from people saying that if God is really there, why should I undergo all these problems? Life is so difficult to handle. If God is really there, He would have helped me, but He's not helping me. Think of this situation. We have people who play cricket match, and the batsman is there, the bowler is there, the fieldsmen are there. The umpire is also there. Now, in one ball, the batsman could hit 4 runs or 6 runs. In the other ball, he could, be caught out or bowled out. Now, what if the player says, the batsman says that, how can I be out when the umpire is there? The umpire is there. He was watching me. He should have corrected me then and there. How did, he allow a wicket to be gone now? The umpire's role there was just as an observer. His role was not to go and correct the batsman who was playing there. Another example would be a child is writing an examination. The teacher who taught the subject is now the invigilator, the supervisor, who's looking at all the students who are writing the exam. One child passes with flying colors, the other child fails miserably. Now the child who did not pass is saying like, the teacher is there, she should have helped it. Only because she didn't help me, I failed. Now, was it the duty of the teacher to help the child while the exam was going on? The child will write the exam based on how much the child is prepared for the exam. So it would be wrong of the teacher to teach him while the examination is going on. So there is no teacher. If the teacher was okay, I would have passed, is not a valid situation, right? Similarly, the God is there, he is the Antaryami, but his role as an Antaryami is only to be a Sakshi Bhudam. He is an observer. The Jivatma, like Arjuna or the bird which is tasting the karma, is tasting the karma of the good and bad deeds as per its karma which was done earlier. So the God here is not to be blamed for these situations. So if we want to write the exams well, if we want to play well, we will have to be cautious. And of course we can pray to God, he will support us at the appropriate moment. But what we have to undergo has to be undergone by us. Is that right? So it depends on our preparation, our level of maturity and the way we take things inside. So here Arjuna is like the Jivatma and Krishna is Achyutha, who is looking at it from a totally different angle, totally different perspective. If we are going on a road and we have a flight to catch or a train to catch, or we are rushing for a meeting, there's a huge traffic in front of us. So the movement of the traffic is slow, we get totally tense, we are like, oh, when will I reach, so on and so forth. And finally we reach, let's say we landed in the airport and we did our check-in and we boarded the flight. We are like, thank God we are on time. And now the flight takes off. We get a window seat, we peep out of the window. Wow, what a view, the light looks really beautiful. Is that right? Many of us would have had that experience. Now just think about it, the lights are the same lights that we saw when we were on the ground. But at that point of time, we were so pressurized for want of time. Now when we are at a higher level, we are able to visualize and enjoy the light that is visible down there on the street. Similarly, when we look at everything from the plane of a Jivatma, when we are here, Arjuna in that situation sees the army and his mind gets like troubled, perturbed. But Krishna, being in a higher plane, is untouched by all this and he is Achyutha. So if we keep praying to Achyutha over and over and over again, that quality of Achyutha, to have a detached attachment, to look at it from a different perspective, will imbibe on us and we will be able to do a lot of our duty in a much better manner. Now Achyutha, we learned, is the Antaryami God who protects us all the time. He protects us all the time because he never sleeps, and that's the reason he's also addressed as Achyutha Bhanu. Bhanu means sun god, and our ancestors always knew that the sun god never sleeps. There's a mention in Vishnu Purana also that sun never rises or sets. So it's always there, it's just our perception. Now, just like sun god, the Achyutha Bhanu, Achyutha never sleeps, he's the Antaryami. Now, with all this learning of Achyutha, how do we implement it in our everyday life? Achyutha looked at everything from a totally different perspective. He saw everything from a higher level, therefore was not attached to what was going on here. Arjuna was attached to what was going on in the war. But Krishna looked at it from a different perspective, therefore he guided Arjuna in the right direction. Similarly, when we start looking at it from a different perspective, nothing will affect us. We play different roles in our life. We are a mother, we are a daughter, we are a friend, we are a relative. Many of you could be fathers or brothers and cousins. So many different relationships are there. The employers, employees, entrepreneurs, so many distinct relationships are there. Now, in each of this relationship, when we look at the situation and we are engrossed in the situation, we get affected for a lot many reasons. But when we look at it from a different perspective, like the way we saw the same traffic from a helicopter view or the aeroplane view, we enjoyed the view rather than feeling stressed the way we were when we were behind the traffic. So when we keep repeating the word Achyutha, 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 the same situation, we'll be able to view it from a totally different perspective, and Achyutha himself will help us have a look at it from that different dimension. Achyutha loves his devotees, he protects his devotees, he will never allow his devotees to have difficulties. Because he protected Arjuna, we are seeing that here. Similarly, Achyutha here is Achyutha, the supreme, the person who never falls from his state as the Lord, but he loves his devotees, he protects us, he is going to help us achieve all what we want. Therefore, when we continuously keep reciting his names, he will help us to handle all our roles of life in a really good manner that is required for us. At the same time, he will help us to practice detached attachment, like a lotus is on water. So Achyutha will protect us on different roles of our life. Therefore, let's recite Lord Krishna's names and be blessed.
Madhava Achyuta Krishna Hare Hrishikesha Keshava Govinda Vasudeva Bhagavan Janardana